to this computer. All right, remind me to let everyone know. Okay, we won't, thank you everyone that's on here already. We won't start for, I'd say 3 or 4 minutes, but make yourself at home if you're making dinner, taking care of kids, preparing for life. We'll get going in a little bit.
Has Hala joined yet or no?
I see Hala just joined on here. Hi,
Okay.
Hala.
All right.
I've got Ross on here and I've got you. So,
Okay, there we go.
um, and
Yep,
then I think we'll be good from there. We can start in about 2 minutes, okay? Is that good for you, Sean?
Yep.
Give people a little bit of time to roll in and they it's an un people can join as they wish. It's automatically muted too. So um, we should not be interrupted. All right, it's 7:32. I say we roll with it. Sean, I'll just make the note that the meeting's being recorded for everyone who's on here. But from there we can proceed. And Sean, I'll turn it over to you to call the meeting to order.
Awesome. I'm Sean Scarmuzzo. I'm the president of the board of directors for Apex Football Club. We also have Regina Kuhn. She's our vice president, and Hala Stonehouse, our secretary. Um, so, Hala, I think we got the three that we need to have a quorum and start the meeting. One of the first things that we'll discuss tonight will be going over legal updates and financial updates from us, and then we'll hand it over to Tara to discuss club updates, and then Ross will talk a little bit about coaching, and then we will move into our elections for the open board of director positions. Um, as far as legal updates go, I know that most everyone should have received a notice, an announcement from our attorney, Stephanie Casera, I guess about a month or so ago when everything got finalized with our legal case with Bend FC. And Tara has also made a press release with one of the news stations here. And we just want to make it very, very clear that everything has been officially resolved and that all the paperwork has been done, all parties have signed, and everything has been filed with the county court. So we are free and clear of any other of all lawsuits, and we are free to move on as a club. Um, and if anyone has any questions about that, please feel free to put anything in the chat, and we can answer your questions as best as possible. I'll give you guys a moment if you need to do that. I'm not seeing anything come up, so I will move on to the financial update. Um, we had a pretty good year despite having to pay for the additional legal fees that we had to incur due to our trial was supposed to be in September of 2024. That had gotten postponed to May, which obviously we're not having because we resolved the trial or the civil suits. But that did cause us to have to pay more legal fees throughout the rest of the year. But we got everything paid up with our attorney, so we have no more fees there to pay for the lawsuits, and we stayed on target despite all that with our budget, and we were actually finishing in a positive at the end of this year. So we did really well with that. And because we no longer have these monthly legal fees to pay, this will actually free up more funds for the club to actually do more things, whether we need to build up more reserve funds or build up infrastructure. Um, we'll actually have access to that now, um, moving into next year. And the other thing is that we were actually able to keep your current tuition that you had paid this year the same moving into the next year, so there won't be an increase in tuition. Um, and I think that's all I have as far as for the financial updates.
Yeah, Sean, you got all the fun stuff there. Wow. You just anyway, thank you, Sean, because just to for everyone on the call, our board has navigated a lot behind the scenes with really no fanfare, no many of them unrecognized. And so I appreciate our outgoing board members. I'll say it now, I'll probably say it again later. Both Sean and I see Patty Lynch is on here as well. They have served the Apex board of directors since our inception, and they've, like I said, helped to navigate a very challenging situation. And we're all very, very proud to have moved on from that and to be able to, like Sean said, put our efforts financially and coaching and staff and board towards kids. That's really what we're here for. So again, Sean got to address just the black and white of it, but just to give a little flavor to it there, it really has been important to have our board of directors and in sync really with our attorneys and just giving everybody updates and making sure that we're all on the same page there. So thank you, Sean, for tackling that. So I'll jump into a couple things here. This is going to be a really short meeting. Part of an annual general meeting is just to make sure that we have our ducks in a row and that we give folks a chance to give feedback and offer feedback, and also we give you an update to where we are. Both myself and Ross will be giving that those. Sharing those pieces with everybody tonight. So I have some positives here of we've grown to 25 teams in just our fourth year of existence, and really one of the awesome parts of what we've tasked ourselves with to do and what we've seen come to a reality is expanding our program footprint, not just to Bend. I think we started as a Bend club, and now I can proudly call us a Central Oregon club. And I really try and make sure that I do that at all times because we are growing in areas that really are hungry for soccer. And that makes me so proud, from Madras to Sisters to Prineville to obviously Redmond and down south to Lapine. And it's just been really cool to see that. So those 25 teams, to think that we started with just 5 teams 4 years ago, and to see it grow like that and to see us grow in our geography has just been really, really inspiring and just awesome to see, and to think of us as not, like I said, not just a Bend club, because Central Oregon is growing in general. So, um, there was something that I was doing. I can't remember what the question was, or the project was that I was looking for. And our staff, myself and Jen and Ross, were talking about, I wonder what our exact growth rate was. And when I pulled the numbers from Sprocket and saw that we had a 31% increase in just players from last year to this year, I think that's a pretty phenomenal number to think about growth. And Ross is going to talk a little bit more about our expectations around growth and making sure that we're growing in smart ways. But just a really cool thing to think that that many people are attracted to Apex for the right reasons. And like I said, growing that footprint, not just here in Bend, but larger than that. Um, I know one of the things I'll get to in the ways that we can improve as a club is having more opportunities with fields, and that's something that we are actively working on. And I think within the next, hopefully, couple weeks, we'll have an exciting announcement, and something that could come to fruition as early as this coming fall. So stay tuned. I'd love to say more, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself. And so I do hope to have an announcement to let folks know what we're working on. And like I said, it could be as soon as this fall. So stay tuned on that front. And then I get to wrap up with areas to improve and grow. One of our core values for Apex is just accountability, and I actually love that, because it's not only us holding our players and parents and teams and coaches, whatever, accountable. It's our membership holding us accountable. And so, if you haven't done it already, this is your opportunity. Every person that's on this call should have received this Satori Sports survey. And while that sounds like a mouthful, it really is just a very, very simple survey for families, for players, to give anonymous feedback to the club. And we get a distilled version of that says, hey, here's the things you're doing well. Here's the teams that are, having great retention. Here's teams that are maybe not having great retention. And then it's our job to look into the why. But that survey actually closes this weekend. I want to say Saturday at midnight. If you haven't had a chance to fill that out, please do that. It really is insightful for our staff and our coaches to look at areas to improve. And so my 2 areas here below are actually from that Satori survey last spring, when we conducted that with all of our members. Just again, coming to that consistent fields. And another one that has come up is equipment. And by equipment, I really just mean goals. Sometimes we go out to fields and, we've got 3 or 4 teams on a field with only 1 or 2 goals. And we recognize that that can be a challenge. However, I do think our coaches are pretty resourceful in creating opportunities to, whether it's using cones or sticks or imagination. But we understand that that's not ideal, and that is something that we are obviously working on along with the fields. And then my third bullet point there is just consistency of training habits for players across all teams. And I think what that means to me is just making sure that all of our teams are looked out for, whether it's a new team, a white team versus a navy team versus a steel team, that everyone's getting the same opportunities. And if they want more opportunities, we are happy to provide that. And we really value every single player in this club. And there's no team or player or individual or coach that gets added opportunities that other teams don't have. And so that is something that we really try and focus, because it is challenging that all of our staff also coach teams. And so we want to make sure that we're not just looking out for any 1 or 2 teams, that we're looking out for all of our teams. And that means, sometimes putting on the hat as a director as opposed to just a coach of a particular team. And I think that that resonates with myself and with Ross and with Jen as we navigate through those 25 teams. So yeah, I'll turn it over to Ross.
All right. Thank you, Sean and Tara. And thanks everyone for being on here. That just looking at the participant numbers keep going up. That's pretty awesome. So many people are taking time out of their Tuesday night to join us. So I've got three things to touch on. Well, really four. I'm going to announce some of our or all of our staff for next year on the next slide. But before I get there, club growth and goals. I'll go through this reasonably quickly because if you read the newsletter, this is a bit of repeat, but I think it bears repeating just because it's really important that everyone hears from us as directors the direction of this club. So 31% growth is great. It's something to celebrate. It means that people have put their trust in our coaching staff. It shows that there's excitement about the club. But growing for the sake of growing the club, literally growing it with numbers, is not necessarily a goal of our club at Apex. We want healthy, sustainable growth. That's the key for us. We don't want to grow outside of what our resources can provide. We want every team, and Tara mentioned it, doesn't matter if you're a Navy or a White or a Steel, or maybe at some point we'll have four teams in an age group and we'll have to come up with another color to go with. But every one of those teams needs a quality coach. They need a quality place to train. They need attention that they deserve. And so as soon as we grow outside of being able to provide that, then we're not doing our job. So it's not like we're trying to turn people away and say no, but I want the membership to hear that 31% is awesome. And so, again, something to celebrate, but not, we're not just trying to get as big as we can and take over Central Oregon. That's not our goal whatsoever. The outlying communities, Redmond specifically, just because we've got some teams that are specifically based in Redmond now, are here to support the club and to strengthen it. They're not here to create there's no Redmond Apex and Bend Apex. We're not creating new clubs. We're working with players in Madras. We're doing clinics in Prineville. We've got players from Sisters, like Tara said. Those players and those communities we see as areas that we can serve and we can support. And if their players want to come and join us in Bend or Redmond, that's awesome, especially if they strengthen our teams. But if not, then we're providing a service to the Central Oregon community. And we feel like that's something that in our area, and it's one of the areas we want to continue to grow, is community connection. So besides just sheer numbers, we want to grow the experience of our coaches, and you'll see the consistency that we've been able to provide. I'm really excited about our staff for this coming year. We want those coaches to continue to grow with professional development, licensing, internal coaching sessions that we do. We want our club resources to grow. Tara mentioned fields. With the improved budget, we're hoping to be able to provide more facility improvements like goals, coaching gear, things like that. We want to grow the competitive strength of the club. It's not our number one goal, but competition is in there. So we want to go, can we be competitive in the OYSA Premier Gold League? Can we win a President's Cup? Can we win a state cup? Those things are something to try and aim for and achieve and be proud of if we get there. We want to grow our college placement program. We've got five boys players and one committed girls player and potentially more to come that are going on to play college soccer, which is really, really cool for the club. And like I said, community engagement, we've got some street soccer initiatives we're doing this summer. The Development Academy in Redmond and Bend are growing programs, and that's a way to connect at the youngest ages to the community. Second piece is going to be principles of play. I won't go too deep into this because this gets into the weeds a bit and I end up talking longer than I should, but really want you all to hear kind of what our coaches provide from the coaching director. So each coach has autonomy over their team. I'm not here looking over the shoulder of Tara or Jen or any of the other coaches and telling them how they have to play. What I've done and what we've done together collectively is create some principles of play. So there's some consistency between the teams of what we're teaching at the Development Academy age group, Youth Premier age group, and High School Premier age group. But beyond that, coaches have the autonomy to play whatever formation they want to play, the tactics they want to play. And of course, if they have coaches or need support from me or any of the other coaches, that's a big role that we provide. The coaches, beyond just the X's and O's and running training sessions, and really more importantly, they provide mentorship. They provide a role model of what it means to be, a leader in the community, a leader of a group of people, and just a positive example for the players on their team, whether they're under eights in the DA for James or for Leslie up in Redmond, or for Jen or I playing at the under 19 level, and everything in between. So really important that we are in the business, and we say this all the time, we're in the business of developing human beings as well as soccer players, right? We don't want to sacrifice any character. We don't want to sacrifice any potential learning moments for our young kiddos, or older kiddos, for the sake of winning, right? We want to, when everyone's competitive in our coaching staff, we all want to win games, but not at the expense of sacrificing any type of character, because those, as they say, little pitchers have big ears. Like, these kids are going to see those moments and they're going to stick with them. So that's a big role for us. Final piece before I get to the coaching staff is just like a quick summary of my first year. It's been amazing. The people here have been great. I get to work with people like Jen and Tara. We meet every single week. We talk and text every single day, and couldn't be prouder to work with the two of them. And then obviously the amazing coaching staff we've got. I'm not going to go through and name them all, but just like, Maria Bartini, the National United Soccer Coaches Coach of the Year, is literally on our staff working with our U8s and U10s. Like, how cool is that? There's no other coach in the country right now, or no other club in the country that can say that this year. And maybe she'll win it next year too. I think she's on the call. So chime in, Maria, if you have some thoughts on that. So just really proud of the work we've done this year. Again, the growth is cool. Not our number one goal, but proud of the work. And I think up until tryouts, which is when I started last year, although I did help with Coach Leslie and Coach Ryan's Redmond teams, but really full-time tryouts was my start. So from that point onward, I'll be going round two. And so I think I'll be able to provide even more support for the club and help us grow in those healthy ways. And final piece just on this is just really good to be building something together. Just, it's so enlightening and so inspiring to be every week with Jen and Tara talking about how we can grow, how we can get better, what we can build this club into, and just to be inspired week in, week out as a full-time job is a really cool piece for me. All right, Tara, we can skip forward. So this is our coaching staff, and at least on my screen, it's cut off a little bit at the bottom. That might be just my slideshow. But anyway, I'll go through it. So what we've got here is, this is our Navy teams, our white teams, our potential steel teams. If you see two names at an age group, we are projecting that we're probably going to have two teams at that age group. The Development Academy, that central column, those are the directors of those development academies, plus their staff that'll be working with them. We'll be adding more to that depending on numbers. So you can look through this. Jen has put some images together that we'll start sending out as early as tomorrow. So if you're keen to get to know your age group coach a bit more, just stay tuned for that. This is the most important thing I do, is putting together this group of people, because if I get this right, it makes the rest of the year so much easier, because these people are doing a great job with your sons and daughters. They can take care of problems when they arise. They can come up with their own ideas. If I do a poor job with this, it makes my job much more difficult. So this is the number one thing I do. And I'm super proud of, we've got some great experience here. We've got good coaching background. We've got good competitive coaches. But the number one thing I do, and we do, I should say, because most of these people were here before I got here, is we try and hire good human beings, great human beings first. And then obviously the coaching experience, the ability to coach on the practice field or in games is secondary to that. Because we really feel like, those core values we talk about them literally every week when we meet as a staff. One thing I want all of you to note is just the consistency. I went through it and figured it out. We've got over 80% returning coaches with their age groups, which I think is really big. there are times when a coach has worked with their group for, 2, 3, even 4 years, and it's time to hear a new voice, and it's healthy to have that turnover. But we want to try and avoid that, this is my third coach I've had in 9 months type scenario. So we want coaches, to develop consistency, to develop trust with the parent group. And there's a question, yeah, I don't know why the graphic, I can't see it at the bottom, but there are some teams down below that maybe we can't quite see. So just as we're trying to figure that
Sorry
out.
there. That's me just pasting it in. Can you maybe just, I can't, oh, okay, I see, Michelle. Do you have that information, Ross? I think I can see
Yeah,
2011
let me,
girls on the left, Jen. Is anything missing? I'm guessing nothing's missing under 2015 girls under Carrie Pitt. Then your only other one is, what does it say? 20.
20, yeah, under Carrie Pitt is our Redmond 2014-15 girls teams. So Leslie will be the Navy coach in Redmond, and Annie Butts will be the white coach, and they'll work together on those. And then on the 2011 boys Redmond under my name is Anthony DeChristopher. He'll be helping me with that group. And then I think on the right column, we've got our two Redmond boys teams. 2014 boys will be Derek Wilcox and Darren Abbott, who are currently working with that group. And then 2015 boys will be Derek Brenner, again, who's currently working with that group. So we only have a handful of teams, I think 5 that have new coaches, and some are like 2015 boys, 2015 girls. Those are brand new teams because they're aging out of the development academy. So really excited about the groups that we've got put in place there. So some of these this is a projection. We never know what's going to happen at tryouts. We may have more players that are interested in an age group, and we've got plan B and plan C if we need to have a second or even a third team at an age group that we didn't project. But for now, this is our best guess at what the teams will be and who the coaches will be. One note, just in that left column, Madison Shore will also be serving as our college liaison for the girls' side, helping to develop pathways to college soccer from D1 all the way down to junior college. And I will be taking on that role. Even though I'm not working with an older boys group, I'm still going to take on that role on the boys side. So it's really important to me. That's my coaching background. I was 15 years as a college soccer coach at the Division I level, but I've got great connections at Division II, Division III, NAIA, junior college, and lots of other options too. So developing pathways beyond Apex is a super important part of what we're doing. I'm excited to work with Madison together. It's a long-term project. We may not be placing 50 kids in this next year, but we want, the 2014 girls to see like, hey, Kylie's going to play college soccer. I wonder if I could do that. Well, here's the pathway that we get you up there, and everything from how to write a college email. I'm not going to go into it now, but all of those different things, how you get seen, what you should be doing at each age level to prepare yourself for that, if that's a goal of yours. All right.
Thanks, Ross. Sorry, I think Ross, you sent me this and I pasted it in, and obviously it was a little bit last second because I think we were making some changes or edits. But anyway, this will all go out as well. So if you didn't memorize what Ross just said about the bottom of this graphic, this will also be shared to everyone. I also just addressed, please feel free to ask any questions. We can address those here. We don't want to take everyone too much time. The only thing that we have left to is vote on our board members that are 3 uncontested. Ross, the one other thing I wanted you or myself to talk about was just the maybe changing landscape of OYSA, and I've been getting some questions, and some of our parent groups might not even know about that, but kind of what's out there for youth soccer and where does Apex fit within that? And to the question here, it looks like Michelle just brought this up.
Yep.
And the change, U.S. Soccer's forecasted change to go back to the school year. If you want to try hitting those 2 up.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, I have a note to myself, OYSA and platform leagues. Make sure you don't forget that. And I forgot it. So I skipped right over it. Okay, yeah. So I'm on the technical advisory committee for the state association, which is OYSA, which you guys have seen that acronym lots and lots and lots because they sanction our leagues and do our player cards. So it's not it's a every month I meet with directors of coaches from around the state. And recently we've had a number of clubs in our state that have gone, we call these platform leagues. So ECNL is one, the GA Girls Academy is one, MLS Next is one, and there's some second tier leagues under those. We as a staff took a careful look at those platform leagues and we decided that it wasn't a great fit for us. Some historical context, there was an OPL, Oregon Premier League, that was formed, I want to say maybe 10 years ago. In a very similar fashion, clubs were sick of dealing with OYSA. They decided to create their own thing. They went off and did it. And 3 years later, they all came back to OYSA because it turns out it's not that easy to run these leagues. So ECNL on the boys' side, GA on the girls' side are legitimate national leagues that clubs play for, and that's the top level of youth soccer in our country. And it will evolve and it will change. It used to be the Development Academy, then it was MLS Next, and so these second tier ones we would be a good fit to go into likely. We just decided that it's really for the way it would stretch our club and the resources of our families and the resources of our coaches, there wasn't enough value to go into those leagues at this point. There's a good chance that it will change back, and most of these clubs are all staying in OYSA anyway. So we decided to kind of hold tight, focus on our internal growth, focus on continuing to develop. And if these things look like they're going to be here to stay, then that's at that point we'd jump into them. And then, do you want me to jump in and answer Michelle, the birth year one that Michelle put
Yeah,
forward?
yeah, for sure. Or I can, either way.
Okay. Yeah, so this tryout cycle, so next month during tryouts, we'll be trying out as birth year, and then the change will go into effect September of 2026. So next year's tryouts, May of 2026, will reflect that change. So our teams will be set up and we will have a full year. We're already working on it. We'll have a full year to create what those kind of workshop what those teams might look like, how teams would potentially split apart or stay together. And we will rest assured as a crew of directors, as a crew of coaches, because we'll involve the coaches in this. We are going to make decisions based on what's best for each and individual player in the club and the health of the teams. So nothing to worry about at this point. But it will be a September 1st cutoff instead of a January 1st cutoff. So you can start kind of thinking about where your son or daughter might land in that. And the idea is to get it back to grade years. So if you're going to be a sixth grader, you'll be playing on a team with other sixth graders instead of like fifth and sixth grade or sixth and seventh grade, depending on your birth year. And then there's a question on tryouts, Ben versus Redmond. I can hit that one too, Tara,
Yeah,
while I'm
knocking out of the park, Ross.
all right. So we have staggered our tryouts for Ben to go first and Redmond to go second, partly because at the younger ages, we know there's some outdoor school conflicts, which apologies, we would have scheduled around that, but we don't actually, OSA sets the dates for the whole state for tryouts. So we had no flexibility there. But if there are kiddos that are going to outdoor school or have any conflict, they could come. If they're a Bend player, they could come to Redmond, and vice versa. If the Redmond players aren't going to be there for those dates, they could come to Bend. What I would suggest if you're unsure, like if you're a Redmond player that's always played on a Bend team, I would be in direct contact with the coach, and now you've got these coaches laid out of your age group, and just make sure that you're going to the right place for tryouts. Coaches will be at both sets of tryouts because the Redmond ones would be the Bend makeup ones. So we want to make sure that either the direct coach will be there for that age group or that we've got coverage from an assistant coach or an age group coach or director like myself. So I guess to directly answer your question, you're going to be trying out for the team that you intend to play for, if that makes sense. And Michelle, please put in the chat if I didn't quite answer that directly.
Well, and I think just to follow up on that, just context, as we grow our staff of our senior leadership as well as our coaches, we'll be discussing when and how do we bring teams together, because we definitely foresee that we are a club united as one, that we don't remain, we don't have a Bend team and then a Prineville team and then a Redmond team. As we grow and we want to be competitive, we want all these kids to come together and form teams as these ages move up into middle school, high school. And so keep in mind that we see the future of these teams coming together, whether even if we start at these younger ages, because it does make sense because we've got a lot of interest in these younger ages to keep, teams and classmates together. But to that point, I do think that there'll be growth for players and growth for the club by combining our efforts and making sure that we are putting forth competitive teams as we move forward and these kids move into ages into middle school and high school.
Yeah, and we've kind of quietly targeted the U13 age group for that because that's when players go 11v11, the rosters get a bit bigger. That's what we're doing with my 2013 boys this year. And the 2013 girls was already kind of a combined group with some Prineville players in that mix and I believe some Redmond players too. So that's not hard and fast. As you can see, I'm coaching a 2011 boys, specifically Redmond team, 2011, 2012. So as we grow, this will become a little bit more clear, and we'll have more clarity on that. But that's the goal of the club, is to have it grow together, and just targeting what age group we think U13 is a great time for that. But it might be a moving target as we go forward.
Great. Okay, if there's any other questions, please feel free to put those there in the chat box. I'm gonna move it back over to Sean. One other thing I pointed out to somebody just yesterday, and I'm really just proud, and I hope that our families recognize this too, of just how many females are on this coaching diagram here. And Ross, I think you've done a fantastic job of continuing to encourage females to join coaching. That's not something that is easy to do, and you have a lot of young ladies who've played who maybe think they can't get into the coaching profession, or maybe they're a teacher on the side but they love coaching. And we really, I think it's very, very important, as a female and who's been coached by females myself, I think it's critical that our young ladies see females in these positions. And doesn't mean they can't be coached by males, but I do love how many women are represented coaching, not only females but also males on here. And so I really love the balance of our coaching staff and what we bring just to all kids. I love coaching boys, and I love that they see all of us in these positions, and I love that the girls see that as well. So I just wanted to point that out. I know that's not lost on many of you, but I feel like that's an important piece of Apex as well.
Absolutely.
I think you just had another question there, Ross.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Yeah.
2013 boys, Bend and Redmond will be combined. There will be, yes. So, and in some age groups, this will kind of depend on the makeup of the team, since we've got great facilities in and Redmond. We've got an iPhone 13 talking at us. So yes, if a team is made up with, like my current team, my U19 team has boys from Madras, Culver, Redmond, and Bend. So Redmond actually happens to be a pretty central training spot for us, and so we train at Ridgeview High School right now. But if a team is predominantly Bend players, they'll train in Bend. This 2013 boys team that I'll coach, again, we haven't had tryouts yet, but I would project we'll have players from Madras, potentially Prineville, Redmond, and Bend. So we'll probably go one practice in Redmond on a Tuesday, one practice in Bend on a Thursday, for example. But that won't be set until May, getting ready for June practices.
Great. I'm going to move on to Sean. And Sean, while you're talking and bringing up the new board and having some of those board members talk, I'm going to put in this chat box, because part of the final piece of this meeting is our voting. And so many of you have received an email from me. It had a Google quiz that you could vote, and we have Sean will talk about the folks that we have running for our positions. But in this, I've got Hala Stonehouse, our current secretary. She'll be recording the votes, and so if you can just in the group chat here put a yes if you at the end of this or while you're listening to Sean and these folks speak, if you can give a yes, we can then tally the votes and have an official documentation at the end of this meeting. So I'm going to write that in here. Please feel free to use this or use that Google Doc that I sent out, and I will turn it over to you, Sean.
You almost deserve it.
Thanks, Tara.
Fuck, he's gonna bite your foot.
Okay. So we had three open positions coming into this next year for our board of directors, which was president, treasurer, and our member at large position number one. In your email, you may have seen that Eric Paul is running for VP. That was a large typo. He's actually running for member at large. Regina is our vice president. So. And I wanted to introduce the candidates before voting, just so that you can actually get an idea who these people are. Cheryl is on vacation in France, so she's not going to be here. So I'll kind of go over her background before we vote. And I think Eric may have had maybe some coaching or a family commitment. He couldn't be here, so I'll speak on his behalf. But I believe Sarah is on here. She is running for president, and I will let her chime in here and introduce herself to you guys. Sarah, you still there?
Yep, I'm here. Thanks, Sean. So hi, hello, friends in the virtual land. It's nice to see some of you and meet you. My name is Sarah Tillery. I've never done this before, so forgive me if I don't know like exactly what to say or how to say it, but if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those. But I saw in the email Sean forwarded to me, I've worked in higher education for 25 plus years, and I've worked in both education, fitness, coaching for a long time, most of my life. And so I've been kind of an avid sports enthusiast. I played soccer when I was terribly young for many, many years. It was very recreational and through the city, but it was a wonderful experience for me. And then I switched and played tennis most of my like older adolescent adult life, and now I do other things. But I just really am deeply impressed with Apex and the values that the club holds, and just some of the commitments to excellence. And being somebody who's worked in education, I care deeply about youth development, but also like some of what Ross was mentioning around coach development. And I've done a lot of that work, not necessarily with coaches, but with teachers and with faculty. So just excited to even have the opportunity, and grateful to be here. So thanks. Sean, if you were expecting me to say something else or different, please feel like you can tee me up for that.
No, you did great. Just introducing yourself and giving us your background. That was perfect. Our treasurer candidate was Cheryl. I'm gonna butcher the last name, Bananich Goldberg. Cheryl has a background in finance and accounting. She spent 40 years doing that. She was a CPA up in Seattle, and then went on to be an accounting manager for a Fortune 500 company in Bellevue. Eventually, she moved on and started up or managed an operating partner and chief financial officer hospitality company that grew to owning numerous hotels throughout the Midwest states. She recently had two of her investing partners had passed away, so she is in the process of selling her company and exploring retirement. And she's an avid outdoors person, skiing, mountain biking, hiking. Cheryl's education includes bachelor's arts in accounting from Pacific Lutheran University and an executive master of business from the University of Washington. She has served on a number of boards, and the most recent one was treasurer of Lifehouse, which is a nonprofit organization that provides numerous services to homeless youth. Cheryl and her husband Greg have 3 children who, growing up, were involved in every sport imaginable, including soccer, and are well aware of the support that athletes and their parents need to fully appreciate all the opportunities and growth provided by the youth by youth sports. So that's Cheryl. She is in France right now, walking the Camino hike through France and Spain. So she will be back in May and ready to start this position if you guys cast your vote to bring her on board. For our member at large position is Eric Pohl. Eric grew up in Corvallis playing club soccer and played at the University of San Diego. Following his playing career, he coached with the Oregon State women's soccer program for 8 seasons. He has over 10 years of experience coaching boys and girls from age 6 to 18, and also has experience as a club director of coaching. And currently he is in outdoor construction, and he also coaches his kids in AYSO. So he's really excited to join this organization, and actually he's knows Ross and Tara, and is totally in support of the program and the staff that they've built here with Apex. So he's pretty excited to bring on any insight and help that he can provide to the board and this club. Okay, that is it on the candidates. If anyone has any questions, if you would like to know anything else, or if you want to ask Sarah a question, you feel free to do so, or go ahead and just cast your vote in the chat or through your Google Doc that Tara said that she sent to you guys.
Thank you, Sean and Sarah. I'll give you guys a couple more minutes just to buy some time. I put in there, if you can just, a lot of you I know, but I've got Hala Stonehouse, our secretary, will be recording your name and as attached to your player. That's how we make sure that all of our voting members are approved. But again, this is just a formality. I just want to again thank Sean, and like I said, we've got Patty on here. Hopefully, a lot of you received the message that I sent out that one of the just the infrastructure pieces that we put together for Apex was finding board members who didn't have a player affiliated with the soccer club. And that sounds like, wow, that's either a lofty ambition, or why wouldn't you want somebody whose daughter or son plays? I mean, they would be great. We love, 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 and appreciate our volunteers. We've got too many to name. All of our managers are volunteers. We've got some of our coaches are parent volunteers, but we really feel strongly, and there's no hiding it, that part of the formation of Apex came from a struggle with the board of directors. And one of the reasons that we appreciate having a board of directors outside of their player, outside of any influence that a player and a personality of a parent might have, is really important to us. And so again, I just want to go on and say thank you to Sean. No players, never has he had any soccer players in our organization. He just served Apex as a first as a vice president and then as the president for the last 4 years, and Patty Lynch as a member at large, same thing. They just truly wanted to help kids, and I think that first and foremost. And so now to have Sarah, who I know in other capacities, jumping in with no other attachment other than wanting to help an organization and help kids. Cheryl is a friend of Patty's, outgoing board member, introduced to us with a fantastic background, whose kids happened to play many years ago. And she's willing to offer her services as treasurer and oversight of our finances. And then Eric, who I also happen to know from a past life when I was coaching at Oregon. He and I will probably have some rivalry conversations, but to have those folks jump in and provide guidance, I think I want our families to recognize like how important that is to the infrastructure and how grateful we are as a staff and as an organization to have those folks. So again, thank you to Sarah and Cheryl and Eric, but outgoing members to Sean and Patty. We really appreciate what you guys have done, and that this growth in these 25 teams would not be possible without all of you guys that have participated. So thank you. Okay. Well, it looks like we've got a pretty good number here. I'm going to assume that everybody has cast that vote. And Hala, is there anything else that you need? I know that you're on here. Can you just give me that affirmative?
I'm good.
Okay, great. Okay, I don't have anything else. Like we said, all this information will be shared. Our inboxes are always open, and please feel free to reach out. But thanks to all of you guys for making the time for jumping on tonight, and thank you all for joining us. Have a great night.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
Paula, you can officially adjourn the meeting at 8:18 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight and to hear all the updates and voting on your new board of directors. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.